Thank you.
Don't be difficult. So the June meeting of the Library Advisory Board is officially called to order. The first thing we need to do is to approve the minutes. Here comes Rick now. Is to approve the minutes from last time. Did everybody have a chance to read them online?
Oh, for May and August.
Oh, yes, both sets of
Which
minutes.
the work session was really
Not work sessions.
I have read both and I moved, we approve them as written.
I second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody dissenting? Okay, the minutes are approved as is. So next on the agenda is we have a guest.
Hello.
Guest always gets to go first.
Okay, I'll explain why I'm here. I think I met Marissa before. I'm
yes.
Will. I'm actually in a library program at Emporia State, so an online master's program. And I want to try to start participating in just library functions more. Partly I'm here because of an assignment, partly I'm here just because I've chosen to do an emphasis in public librarianship. So, you know, I will graduate next year and then start looking for jobs around the area. Let's see, currently I work at, I have an internship, I'm very lucky, at Cannell Library at Clark Community College, which is great, and I like community college libraries quite a lot, but ultimately I do want to end up in like a public setting. And yeah, I work at Barnes & Noble currently, so if you tell me who you are, I can sneak you a little discount.
So do you live here, Candy?
I do, I lived here since, I've grown up here, yeah, so I went to U of O. I moved back to Canby last year. I was a teacher abroad. I taught English and science in Japan for about 4 or 5 years. Kind of got stuck there during COVID, but came back because I wanted to, you know, get a master's degree in something. And I like research. I like teaching. I feel like a librarian, like reference librarian, is kind of like a perfect middle ground. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm coming to this. And see, it's a full house. Just pretend I'm not here and just do your stuff.
So do you have any questions about what the Library Advisory Board does?
That's a good one. Yeah, what do you do? How's that? Let's start with that.
Candy, I've never lived in a town that had advisory boards to the city council. So the city council has created a bunch of different advisory boards, and what we do is we are basically the liaison between the community and the city council. So we have our own city council representative, Scott Passy, over here.
Mhm.
And so all the city, all the advisory boards, and then things like the Canby Adult Center and all that, they have their own city council representatives. So it's a way of getting council members involved in the city and getting residents to give input to the city council. So that's what we do. There's a list of 13 things that we have to do, and of course, whoever wrote it was a good HR person, because the last one is other job duties is assigned, which as a retired HR person, I thoroughly appreciate. So basically, I mean, that's our function. So I really view it that we support the library, we do what the library asks us to do, we do what the city council asks us to do, and we really are the advocates for the library. And like the past couple years, we've written new policies. In fact, there's one that we need to get to again that we got sidetracked a little bit, but we don't move at the speed of light, but we do try to get things done to move things forward. So, anybody else want to add something to our guest?
Can you give me like an example of some of the policies that you try to
A few years ago, there was a situation where we had a non-library item on display in the library. It was the book page, which you may or may not be familiar with, and there was no policy, and somebody objected to it, there was no policy for it. So we created a policy for that. Basically, it's an escalation policy that, you know, just somebody at the time came to city council and made a big to do about it, and that's not a proper escalation policy. The proper escalation policy is to the library director, to the library advisory board, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the kind of thing that the policy about gifts to the library is very old and updated, so we're working on, that's what we're working on right now.
So thank create policies. They also help us approve current policies that we might be editing, like right now we're going from policy manual, updating it after
Okay.
changes, so they'll go through it as well.
Like last time, we approved the new community goals board out here is brand new, like less than a month old.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that Marissa and her team worked on, and then they brought it to us, we discussed it, we approved it, so she got it up the next day. So it's just a matter of making sure that the library director is not doing crazy things, and that we're representing what we're hearing from citizens and residents to the library and then to the city council as well.
Oh, it's
We do a report to the, well, COVID kind of got things, so we didn't do a report for a couple of years, but the goal is to do an annual report to the city council with an update of what we see the accomplishments are, what we see the open issues are.
So it's like a nice, like a channeled pipeline from the public to, you know, the policy and the.
That's what I thought when I first found out about the whole advisory. When we first moved here, we've only been here about 10 years. My husband was on the Parks and Rec committee, so.
Nice.
It's like another checks and balances kind of thing. And make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, getting the support we need, fighting for budget issues, things like that, so. We do a little bit of everything.
I think it encourages a lot of citizen involvement as well, which I think is very important. I think that's one of the better things about Canby. You know, it really does encourage citizen involvement, so.
One comment as far as the student position here. Over the years, it was originally just a non-voting person and was basically a liaison. So we were able to upgrade that through the city council and approved it in an ordinance which directs all our operations, and the student is also a full voting member of any decisions
Oh,
that we make here. So that's, and he'd be the second person probably in that type of position for a voting position. So it's good news, and then we have better connection, and then the interaction between the school district and us is tighter that way. So.
Yeah, that's what we're missing right now, is we're missing a student member, because
student member.
our student just graduated from high school and has to be a Canby High student, so. And what, the other thing that we do is that, the library district includes more than just Canby, it includes, so the board is such that 6 members are from inside Canby and 2 are from the outside area, so there's always a good representation. Anything else anybody wants to add?
No, thank you. Yeah, that
Okay.
Kinda what- I mean, I read some of the basic stuff, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was walking into, but it kind of helps to know where y'all from, so.
We're pretty friendly.
This
Well, thank you for coming, we
Yeah.
appreciate that. Scott, you're next up.
We have a meeting tomorrow. We have 3. We have an Urban Renewal Agency meeting, and we are going to approve the budget. And then we have some reappointments, committee members, we have to vote them back in. And then adopt the budget. Council, we're gonna approve a bunch of we've probably got more ordinances than I've seen yet. First and second readings, and then we're gonna talk about the budget. There's some supplementary stuff we need to cover. And then we have an executive session after that for, I can't say anything, but. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Is that it? Any questions for Scott? Okay, I did not do a written report, and I have 2 things I want to discuss. In the last meeting, we discussed the possibility of speaking up about things that happened outside the May 15th City Council meeting. And my personal feeling is that I would like to do this, however, I would like to do this as an individual, not as a library advisory board member. We talked about this, and I did have a draft statement, in case anybody wants to take a look at it. But I think if we're gonna do this, we should do it as individuals and get a bunch of people to show up, one person stand up and speak, and everybody who agrees with the statement, could just stand up at the same time, maybe it's short, efficient, et cetera, et cetera.
second, was this changed at all from our meeting from last, that you passed out?
Yes, I did change it.
You did change, let me have it.
Oh, did you turn it on, John?
No, it's funny, I just thought we were using one.
No, I took Christie's and I used some of the words
Okay, good.
that we talked about.
Thank you.
You wanna read it, Lois?
Pardon me?
You wanna read it?
Oh. Okay, we believe safety is paramount in our community, and recent events at the city council meeting have highlighted the importance of this issue. When our community feels unsafe, accessing public spaces is deeply concerning and unacceptable. All public areas must be safe and welcoming spaces for all residents of Canby. We believe that respecting the dignity and privacy of individuals and organizations means that the four should come out. Leadership must denounce harassment and intimidation in all its forms. All city staff and all community residents deserve to feel safe at work or at their leisure. It is crucial that we all work together to ensure that our public spaces remain safe and inclusive for all members of our community. We also believe that inviting outside non-resident political agitators to city council meetings is both divisive and harmful to the best interests of Canby. So, I think that we want to discuss that since I would like to get us to agree that that should not be a library advisory board item, but just a personal item that we take it offline and discuss it offline. That's okay with everybody. And my second announcement is that this is now my second year as the chair. Oh, but anyways, I agreed to be the chair. It's June, we need to decide positions. I'll agree to be the chair one more year, but I would like somebody else to consider taking it over, starting in the summer of 2025. And I just wanted to put that out there so that people can think about who should want to do that. I believe in if full representation means that we should give everybody a chance for leadership positions. And if somebody really wanted to do it, I'd be happy to step down sooner. I'm not at all insistent upon doing this. But it's something that I would like people to think about. In the past, we've decided the chair position in June. Nobody has volunteered, and I have brought it up, and I should have done that earlier, but it is something that I want people to be thinking about. Okay, that was all that I had. Are there any other board member reports not on our agenda? Is there anything happening with LDAC? Any updates on that at all?
No, nothing since the
Nothing
last
happening.
meeting, but things will get going again.
Okay, we have no team liaison report. Sorry. Wake me up here.
I don't really have a report, but I wanted to tell you that I did reach out to the contact that I have and gave her a really good recommendation of how powerful this position is for a youth wanting to develop themselves. And graduation was happening.
Yeah.
Kids are out of school. Staff are still working, so I asked her to share our application as well as the requirements to the leaders in the school, at the high school, that might have students that would be interested. So it's Key Club and FFA and FBLA and the counseling department and the Career and Counseling Center. But the one thing I was curious about is what should they do if they want to apply? Because our packet said turn it into the librarian.
Oh.
So should they turn it into the library?
Pretty much every single person except for I think it was probably 5 of the 7 that applied, however many it was, came to our library and turned it into me.
Is that okay with you?
Totally fine.
Okay. I thought about saying, oh, just have them send me the application, but then I didn't want to be, and didn't want to forget to turn one in. So I'd rather have a neutral place. Not that I'm not neutral, but I'd rather have them have a designated place to turn it in. And I thought the library desk would be amazing.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you could just let your staff know that you might see something. So is there any way, any of these people would you think might get in touch with you this summer?
I would hope so. I know from my children attending Canby High School that advisors and teachers work with their kids all summer long.
Okay.
And feel that there is the perfect person out there, okay, you put this in an email, there's the perfect person out there that's just waiting to hear about this opportunity. And every staff member has this one person in mind the moment they read that announcement. And if they could just say, you know, they have their contact information, just send it to them and let them come forward.
Well, and of the 5 applications that we did get, after I sent the email saying we were gonna delay, you know, hiring, that only one engaged with me repeatedly on email. That she was very, very, very interested.
We have 2 that have come into the library asking when the interviews were. One was today.
Oh.
I was at the desk. And I said that there was an email sent and she admitted that she hadn't checked her email in a while. So it's possible they just didn't get the communication, but.
Well, yeah, one of them used a school email address too, so.
But it seems like they're still interested, because I don't know if this was one of the ones that reached out to you, but 2 very eager young ladies.
Well, that's good too. I mean, and that, there's definitely a couple of that I would seriously consider. You know. Yeah, I'm interested in everything. Well, thank you, Jennifer. If you want to stay on top of that,
No, thank you very much.
that would be, because I have no connections that can, I mean, I know Chris Banks, and that's about it. Kristen.
I just wanted to remind folks that Candy Pride is happening on June 23rd, so that's a Sunday. The library will be there, and so if you want to stop by their booth and give them some love, that would be awesome. We're going to be at Wade Park from 12 to 4.
It's on my calendar.
Thank you.
It just better not rain.
No.
It looks like it's gonna be perfect weather from what I saw, so.
Good.
All
No team report. Brissa.
Me next. Okay, so we've got a couple different new staff members. One, our teen intern Rayleigh started. She started yesterday. She'll be here Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. She was a volunteer for us for a little bit, so we are fairly familiar with her, and she's been doing really good work and just excited to learn about more of what the library does, stuff that she didn't do as a volunteer. And then our new 25-hour library assistant, Sophia, started today. She has experience in Link already, so we just have to teach her how we do everything our way. So super excited about that. And then we are in the process of bringing on 3 on-calls. Ember was our intern this past year. Emma, who started today, and she has a lot of experience as a library assistant outside of Link, and then a little bit inside of Link. And then another gal, Jennifer, she should be starting in the next couple weeks or so. She's an on-call at like half the Link libraries, so she's very knowledgeable about everything that we do. So we had a lot of applications for each of those jobs. The 25-hour, I think we had 49 applications for that one, which is a lot to weed through, let me tell you. And then the on-calls, I think we got about 30 applications, and normally we have to score the applications, so they'll get like, 10% all the way up to 100%. We only interviewed people with 800%. So that was a lot. So, yeah, and I mean, it was somewhat subjective, but we're looking for obviously experience first and foremost, experience in Link, and then also somebody who is right for those specific duties. And so we ended up with these 3, and we're really excited to have them be on board. So that's going really well. End of the fiscal year is this month. So just like Scott said, they're going to be passing the budget tomorrow at the meeting. So hopefully all will go well there. Our Maker Lab 3D printers are up and running. We had our first program with those, which a lot of kids wanted, their 3D prints to come out right away, and they do take a little bit of time. So that's going well. Summer reading started. We have our first event with a juggler on Thursday at Wade Park at 3 p.m. And most of the summer reading events are going to be at Wade Park. except for if it's too hot on the day that the reptile man comes, then we'll be doing it in the library because the reptiles can't be that overheated. It was really funny the way he explained it. We are still very much trying to add humor to our social media presence, and we posted another video today, so I'd recommend watching that. They're all pretty funny. Maybe at the end of the meeting, I'll show you guys. And then lastly, the director of Oregon City and Malala and I are gonna be meeting in the next couple of weeks or so to figure out how to get to more of the unincorporated areas that we all service. Provide some outreach to those folks that may not be able to come into the library. So we're just gonna essentially work on a plan to see what we can do to make that happen. But that's it. Everything else at the library is going really well. Karen was on vacation for like a week and a half, which one, we felt it, and two, when she came back, she said, did anything crazy happen? And for the first time ever, I got to say no. It was great. So that is what is going on at the library.
Does anybody have any questions for Marissa?
I do. I love the fact that you guys are gonna talk about the unincorporated areas and people who can't make it to the library. And I've often thought about the assisted living facilities and if a bookmobile could drop off orders there, or if there was any way there would be like a mini library set up for a day. Have you guys thought about the assisted living facilities and just
Yeah, so right now we are in the process of essentially creating a Clackamas County link-wide outreach team and then also a Canby Public Library outreach team. Right now it's 2 people because that's really all we have. But right now we are currently trying to focus on doing outreach at events that we're being asked to be at, which right now it's kind of a lot. Outside of that, we very much want to do everything that you just said. And so that's what, I think we even mentioned this in somewhere in one of the strategic plan documents. That's something that we want to include in our strategic plan to make sure that it's on everyone's radar so we can put budget and time towards it and whatnot. So yes, absolutely on its way.
Any other questions or comments from Marissa? So I don't think we have anything with Friends of the Library. We had the big book sale, big blowout June book sale. People probably remember when we used to have it on July 4th when the library was in the old building right across from Wake Park. It just doesn't work with being this far, having it on July 4th, and meant a lot of work for a lot of us on July 4th. And so now we do it in June. The weather wasn't great on Saturday, so we did it inside the lobby here, but there was ice cream, there was crafts for kids, and there was a lot of people who showed up early. But I think by later in the day that the business had dropped down somewhat. So the next big Friends event is at the Swan Island Dahlia Festival, the Sunday of, patio tour. Well, the next book sale is the Swan Island Dahlia Festival, the Sunday of Labor Day, and then a week from this Saturday is the Backyard Patio Tour, which is sponsored both by the Friends as well as the Canby Garden Clubhouse out with it too. So there's 5 houses this year. 5. So basically, the purpose of the Backyard Patio Tour, because there is a garden tour as well, is to look at how people live outside in Canby. You know, I mean, we usually have beautiful summers when they're not 117 degrees, but that don't happen. And so it's basically how they arrange their living spaces. Some of these people have had amazing living spaces, almost more living space outside than inside, and then how they use their garden to kind of supplement it as well. So that's this. And Marissa, in the past, somebody from the city arranged concerts down. I think that Powell got a grant from Clackamas County to have some extra concerts in the Midway Park. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard it from the city's perspective, but the library, we did, so when Hannah was our adult programmer, she did a series of music in the stack rooms at Wake Park. I think that's what we're trying to do this year. It really kind of depends on the weather and also budget because everybody's price is like on a 2-fold, 3-fold sometimes. So yeah, we have a lot of gonna try it.
Well, that one year that, was it Calvin who worked upstairs? He
Yes.
was able to get a grant from Clackamas County to pay for it, so the library didn't have to, so
Certainly talk to Jean
that would be.
or Tyler.
So on to the next discussion items. Marissa, that's you.
Okay, so first discussion item, essentially we wanted to just kind of talk a little bit more about what we did in our work session last week. The second page in your packet, which is page 2 of 2, is essentially the goals and priorities that we had talked about, but I put them in the correct order based off of our work session, and then fleshed out a couple of them a little bit more based on the questions that I got last time at the work session. So essentially, I just wanted you guys to look at this document and then tell me if there's anything it's missing, if there's anything you don't really want us to focus on. One thing that I tried really hard to do with this document is to make sure it is things that we can do, things we can accomplish, things we can afford to do, have enough energy for, all that good stuff. So everything in here is very much doable. It will take a good chunk of time with our current staff group, but I just wanted to get your input after putting everything in order based on our work session discussion.
Marissa, how do you want us to respond back to you, like emails as we come to mind, or wait for the next meeting, or how do you want to?
I think probably what would be easiest would be to look through this, make your notes, and then we can all talk about it at the next meeting. I literally did this today.
Okay.
Obviously because our work session was last week, so I don't expect everyone to read it and give me notes now. But this essentially how it's gonna be laid out, this is what the strategic plan is going to look like. And then essentially what I'll also wanna do once it's completely fleshed out is come up with a plan of attack, how to get everything done. And then the goal is also to then present it once you guys have approved it at the city council, at the city council.
What is meant by a passive program for teens?
So we already do passive programming for children, that's why it's not included in here, but passive programming is just programming where you do not have to lead it. It doesn't have an instructor, you just come in and do it. So like Wednesdays, we have arts, crafts, and coloring for kids. They can come, we put out all the supplies, they can do what they want with it. So we do a lot of children's passive programming, but we did get some comments asking for teens.
Well, Hattie used to do craft kits too.
She did use to do
Those are,
craft
that's
kits.
passive program.
That is passive, but also very expensive and a lot of, it's very time consuming to
Yes.
put those together. And obviously you can only do so many at a time. I think she would usually do like between 20 and 40.
Right, and then you had to sign up because she only had so much, right, I remember that.
Those were very popular, of course. We relied on those a lot for our programming during COVID since we couldn't do regular. And it's also a really good kind of way to get people in here for programs that doesn't involve a lot of staff time if we already have a lot going on. So passive programs are usually the priority during summer readings since we have a lot of other events going on.
So is Dungeons and Dragons a passive program? Because somebody else leads that, don't they?
I would not call it passive, yeah, we have a volunteer named Lee who leads it. And it does involve a lot of prep work and, yeah. It's a lot. But I was able to give his information out to other libraries too, so he's doing pretty well right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so we basically all have homework to do.
Yeah, and if you if you have questions about what any of this means, just let me know. You can send me an email and I'll explain it, what it actually means, but I tried to not put too much wording in this version just because the actual final version will be a little word heavy since we have to explain what everything is.
The only thing that I think is missing from this is a sense of kind of like what's the low hanging fruit, what's the medium fruit, what's the stuff at the very top of the tree, that type of thing, I was always taught business, you go with the low hanging fruit first. And then, so there's the ease of implementation, and then there's also the cost of implementation, because something might be easy but very expensive, so those are that's a way of looking at it a little bit more holistically. Write down it on paper, but what's the ease of implementation, what's the cost of implementation?
Yes. Ease, cost, time, all of that. So that's essentially, when this is fleshed out, the plan, basically a timeline of what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do it, what it's gonna cost, that will come after that, and all of that will be a part of the city council presentation.
Okay.
Give it after it's approved. There should not be any surprises in the document. You guys will see the whole thing, it'll be exactly what we talk about.
Any questions from Rosa? Do we understand what their homework assignment is? We have homework of the summertime. Okay, you wanted to talk about LDAP and Link?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about it. I'm not gonna spend too much time, but this was the strategic / tactical plan that we that basically the directors presented at the last LDAC meeting. And I can send this out to anybody if you guys still don't have your copy. It's somewhere else in a giant stack of papers like mine was. So basically, I just wanted to let you guys know, the directors in Clackamas County, we did not meet this month, just because everyone had too much going on, but we'll be meeting in July, and we're gonna essentially start talking about how we're going to accomplish this. And this entire plan has everything to do with a new tax district to get all the libraries more money. And so one of the things that the directors group want us all to continue talking about is how to get that new tax district.
Would you explain LDAP to our guests?
That would be.
LDAC stands for the Library District Advisory Committee. So because Clackamas County, Libraries in Clackamas County is a consortium, so we're not branch libraries, we're all separate libraries in our own cities, so we have our own policies, rules, procedures, all of that. We work together, and essentially we went out for a tax district in 2008. It was approved, so a majority of all the library's money comes from that tax district. In 2008, it wasn't enough then, so think about how it's not enough now. Most cities' general fund kicks in money to help out to offset the costs of everything. But all the libraries are kind of at a standstill right now with what we're able to do, because we only have the same amount of money, and essentially we've been having to lose staff, buy less materials. And when you think of how materials are getting more expensive and shipping and handling costs are kind of getting a little bit crazy. And then, you also have the need for digital materials in addition to physical materials. That amount of money from that tax district that was set up in 2008 is not enough for all of us. So now, our goal, and one of LDAC's hopefully main goal now, is to figure out how to set up this new tax district to see what more money could look like for each of the libraries. And in the past, LDAC has met, depending on the year, monthly, semi-monthly, just whatever they needed at the time. And LDAC's main priority the past few years has been talking about service boundary lines. So like Canby services, this part of the county, and then you've got Oregon City and so on and so forth. And the issue right now is that we have, I'll just talk about Caris, I might as well. The Caris area, technically, those people who live in the Caris area generally come to our library, but Oregon City Library gets most of the money, their tax money, because of the
Sure.
district lines and whatnot. And so all the conversations that have been had the past couple of years have mostly been about those lines and moving them around. The problem is while you might get some extra money in some libraries, you might also get this, money taken away, and it's just moving the same pot of money around. We all need more money at this point. I do think the boundary line discussion is never gonna be over. It's still very important. But I think right now we all need to put our energy towards this, and LDAC's main purpose, I hope, is going to be to try to drive this forward to get everybody more resources.
Is there a timeline?
Jennifer had a comment?
It could take up to 5 beyond years, depending on when we actually decide to start really moving this forward. Right now, the directors in Clackamas County, our goal right now is to do the research to see how much we need to ask for to get what we need.
Gotcha.
So it could be 3 to 5 years out, could be more than that. It really just depends on how much energy we put towards it and if the cities are all gonna back us up, which, you know, cities have a bunch of different priorities, so
Right.
we're just hoping we'll be one of them at some point.
Jennifer.
Let's see if I'm tracking this right. So as an outline member of the board, I find it fascinating. I don't believe the school district boundaries line up with the taxing boundaries for the library districts.
Yes.
And so what happens is, my kids went to Canby High School. I currently live in Canby zip code, but I'm 3.4 miles away from the Malala Library, and I'm like 7.9 miles away from the Canby Library. Now, where is my library district? Probably Malala, possibly. And I come to Canby because Canby is my community, because my children went to Canby. So the school district boundaries and the library taxing boundaries are just out of whack, and our communities are defined differently than the tax base for the libraries, and it's fascinating to me, and there's no answer.
And nobody's happy. I'll tell you that.
You can never be happy.
And a piece of it too is that nobody is considering how many actual patrons each library has. It doesn't have anything to do with how many real human beings are actually using that library, either online or in person. It has to do with some weird set of lines that were drawn years ago before the county was populated. So, yes, I mean, there's plenty of room to rethink how the money is distributed.
And part of the equation to see how much each of the libraries gets as far as that money goes, it involves a couple different things, and one of them is your home library. And so one of the, I would say, equity issues we've had is that there's some libraries in this county, like Lake Oswego, Westland, they generally have more money, so they do buy extra resources for their patrons. And so there are patrons who come to our library every day, but their home library is Westland or Lake Oswego to get those extra resources. And so that's one huge way that you can help our library is getting a library card and making Canby your home library. Because that's part of the equation. But that's one of many issues involved with all of this. It makes everything very complicated. When we have to submit the state report every year, we have to input how many people are in our service district and then how many people actually have library cards in that service district. And every couple of years, it's 3 years. If you do not use your account, it stays dormant for 3 years, your card gets erased from the system. So sometimes we'll go up by a bunch, and then by the time we have to report that number, it's back down to what it was because they had to. Yeah, the good news is lately, I will say, we've had a lot of people coming in here who used to have library cards and who don't anymore, so that's good. But that is part of the issue, is we do have a lot of people who come here every day, who call us every day, who check out books here every day, but their home library is something else.
So I have one comment to add to the whole tax district thing, is that there needs to be, in part of this process, a rational, logical, objective methodology for determining library district boundaries that's actually easily explainable to people, because right now it's so freaking crazy, it's insane.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, I don't care what they are, but it has to be rational, logical, and objective.
Good luck.
Isn't that what school boundaries are? Why is that not considered a standard? Do you know why that's not?
That I don't know.
It would be so simple.
Yes, it would. We've all asked that question for a long time.
Let me see if I can find some information on that.
Yeah, there must be a reason, because
Well, also complicate things too, there's a park and rec district, out there that's not funded. And that's just sitting there waiting for the miracle to happen when his money for it, so that's sitting there. And there's competing taxing districts. So how do you come to some middle ground area? How do you analyze all that? And then you've got the economic the surveys we're looking forward to, right, as far as commuters, usage, so on and so forth, which drives a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And that could be another criteria into the whole mix. So it's quite a detailed thing you have to get through.
I have like 10 binders in my office that just say LDAC on them, and it has a lot of historical data, which I have not gone through all of it, but it's been a contentious issue for a really long time. And I do think that we do need to look at the boundary lines, but at the same time, we're just trying to figure out what we can do right now. And so in the strategic plan, you'll see a lot of us talking about outreach and getting out there to either bring in new patrons that don't know about our services or re-engage with those who have been here before but don't come here anymore for some reason. So yeah, I think we need to do everything.
And you're gonna be responsible, or at least try to spearhead the data collection
Yes,
situation
so-
as you move forward.
Yes, in that strategic/tactical plan from Link, we all basically, every director is in charge of a certain task or initiative, and mine is the data collection for what a tax district would look like. And also it involves data collection for Clackamas County as a whole to figure out what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, what things people really want to see from us. And then hopefully to show and educate everyone, this is what you want and this is what we need to do what you want. So it's all gonna be one big conversation that's gonna take years to have.
Originally, our work session was to go over this, and I realize that the survey drives that conversation. Are we going to have another work session to go over this? Is it necessary?
I think we will have another work session, but I think it should happen after the directors have our next meeting, at the very least, and I can tell you what to do from there, because we're all trying to do maybe not exactly the same thing at the same time, but we're trying to make sure nobody's doing the same work and overlapping and trying to get the needed support we need. So I'll have my meeting with them in July, it's usually middle of July, and then I'll let you guys know at the next meeting, which should be a couple days after that. About next steps.
So, Marissa, do we still have a people counter?
We have a new one now, yes. It's called Footfall. Our old people counter was on the fritz. I think I told some of you guys this, there were people coming in at like 3 a.m. There were not.
Yeah.
Like 80
Yeah.
people, I would say.
We discovered early on, it
Yeah.
had a glitch in it, because it was counting people who came in and people who came out, and so the same people were two people.
So we have a new one now, it's called Footfall. You can see it right when you walk in, it's right above.
But it might not be a bad idea to kind of track that and maybe advertise it a little bit.
What do you mean?
I mean, we could just put it on the bulletin board. Did you know last week 300 people used the library, or?
Yeah.
Did you, and it's good press. One thing, we might even get them to put it in the ridiculous local paper, more or less local. And it occurs to me that we might be able to use volunteers to put a table in the Saturday market once in a while to have applications for library cards.
We used to do that.
Yes, because you
Yeah,
before
yeah,
COVID,
it was
so much
so
fun. And I went to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we would have, sometimes we'd have our
Yes,
friends
I was in
out.
class.
Yeah, we can't ask
Yeah.
librarians to do that, but we surely could use volunteers to do that. Lois will volunteer.
Yeah. I don't do anything else on Saturdays. Especially when it's 117 degrees, I'll volunteer to do it.
I remember one Saturday market, we were like between 2 or 10, whatever. And there was no breeze because the tent like went all the way down. I almost died that day. It was insane. But anyway, to go back to the Footfall stuff, we have custom reports sent to us, so every month it tells us how many visitors we had. We can do it every week, we can do it every day, we can do it by the hour. it's really interesting information to have.
Well, it's one way to say to the citizens who are gonna vote for the tax district that we, we really are earning our bread. Otherwise, they're.
I think that's a good idea because there's a family that lives behind the library, I won't tell you which house. We were filming our summer reading, actually it's a summer reading / book return video that I showed you guys at the work session. And he came out and he was like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're filming the video for the library." And he said, "Does anyone go to the library anymore?" And I said, "They sure do." And he said the first year that this building opened, like traffic would be lined up back here for people to return their books. And then he saw that it started tapering off and thought that no one was coming in here. And I'm like, woohoo, boy, can I show you that that's the entire opposite of what's actually happening. So I do think that there's a big education problem. A lot of people don't know what we do. They don't know what we provide. They don't know it's free. So that's really one of the main things of the strategic plan that we want to do is we want to educate people on all of those things and then show them what else they can do.
So back to calendar issues, since you talked about having another work session. It took quite a while to put the dates for the work session together, going into summertime. We have in the past sometimes canceled meetings in the summer and how does everybody, I would be happy if we could just do things with the meetings that we have scheduled, not schedule additional meetings, to keep the meetings that are on the schedule. How do people feel about this? I mean, do people have a lot of plans to be gone this summer, have company? No comments?
I'm gone next week.
I know that I'm around for July because I have doctor's appointments around that time, so I know I'll be here for July, so.
I'm the worst person to speak up because I thought I could make that session and I didn't make the work session, but I feel like I can make almost anything until it's right before the day and then I can't. That's kind of the way life goes.
It does happen.
But what if we just keep going and we have the majority available and we do what we can with who can make it, and does that work?
So we do that, yeah, I would just, personally, I would like just to keep the schedule that's on the calendar and try to avoid another work session, but, it means that we all have to be efficient because, like, next time, we have to go over, Marissa's document, we need to go over because we're not gonna get to it today, completely the, donation process policy, because I need to talk to Marissa, I want to make some changes to the one that I wrote out. But I think we're really efficient with our time and
And you'll have a policy manual, updated policy manual to go through soon. I'm doing like my last edit. Every single staff member has looked at it and put information in it. It's really just a lot of updated stuff, so I doubt you guys will ask to change anything, but we do want to make sure it's clear,
okay.
so.
I got one input. I think it might be if we can squeeze in maybe one short work session, because this donation policy, which we discovered,
But you have a written one, that's not the current one.
no, what I'm referring to is in our present policy manual, which is dated.
What's online that matters, it's not the stuff we were given a couple of years ago. That gift acceptance policy is an old policy.
Okay, has it been removed?
Yes, it's not online, I would, as soon as you talked about it, I would look for it.
Okay. So it's not in our policy, it's paragraph, section 9 before.
So-
Subtitles is not in the manual at this point.
No, and so the current policy manual that we have that library staff are editing, that I'm going through one more time, that in addition to what Lois and everybody here is working on, that those two are going to go together, and then that's what we're gonna post. So that's what I want.
Ignore what says April 22nd,
That's
2022. Ignore this, because it's all bunch of stuff, city treasurer, and city council.
Yeah,
all kinds of
That's
people.
why we're going through
Okay.
pretty much every document we have in the library
Good.
right now. That's just the main one,
Thanks
but
for
we're
clarifying
trying.
that, because I'm just looking at what was handed by, Danny,
Yeah, that was.
so.
The other thing that we would still like to do is getting together with the foundation and the friends, that would be another extra meeting as well.
That would be an extra meeting, we can do that, but we do have to give notice and we have to post an agenda and all that other stuff.
Should we try for that for the fall? Of course, then we'll have a student to hire as well, we have a lot to do.
Yeah, I think that meeting would be very powerful, with 3.
Yes, I think so too. You know,
I cannot think of a better way to use time than for all of those groups to meet and figure out how we can all support each other and all that good stuff.
so you're gonna drive that, Marissa?
Absolutely. We have a foundation meeting Tuesday of next week, so I'll bring this up then.
Okay, that would be great, you know.
I already know the friends are interested, so.
I would say our student liaison, would be fair to say that by October 1st, we would have a regular
Yeah.
student
That should be our
liaison.
goal.
And if something comes up in the summer where we get significant response, so that we can move this applicants that we have forward with enough exposure to the students who may not have known about it that might be interested and really qualified, we can move forward. But if we were strategic and we waited until school was back in session, the club meeting happened, and I would be willing to try and maybe even have representation from our board at that club meeting with the table. I'd be happy to sit and have a sign and have them, understand what we're looking for, so that we reached enough students.
Yeah, and then we could reach out to the students who already applied and say, we're gonna be at the school then.
Right.
So it's a way to follow up with them.
Right, and then so we could do the meeting of the foundation, the friends and the advisory board prior to October. Maybe right at the tail end of summer. That's important, and then move on to the teen, and that way we have both things being tackled at the end of summer. Maybe we can do it.
Yeah. Ask the foundation people what they think too, you know. It's just that we have a lot to do and, summer's coming up, I don't know how many people are gone. Like I said, it took well over 2 weeks to schedule the last work session. And of course, it was graduation, which is just the worst time of year that, with everybody's commitments and stuff like that. I had people not make another meeting because they were trying to get back from Seattle from graduation with their son from college, and traffic that Sunday was just horrendous, and they missed their meeting because of it, so. It's a crazy time of year. So, but summer can be bad too, and I just wanted to kind of check in with people to see how they were feeling about summer meetings and stuff.
And historically, I've been here 50 years, and it's like, oh, August, it's fair week, it's fair month, And it was always like, any committee I was on, was like, we're not meeting on this. I didn't know if that affects our group now. This is just historically what's happened over the years.
I don't go to the rodeo, which is in the evening, so I'm
As
good,
far
yeah.
as the booths and everything that goes with spending a week at the fairgrounds. So, that may or may not be germane right now at all, but as far as we're concerned, our group.
Gotta have priorities.
So,
Like, we should be first.
for the next time, we'll, look and make notes and discuss the next meeting, Marissa's goal priorities, the LED version. If you have questions about it, if you don't understand something, go to Marissa so that we can come prepared to. Even since I wrote the last one that I did, I have some questions for Marissa. So I will get together with Marissa and I will come with something. I'm gonna do a very tight donation process, and then how do I will add some of that extra information that I felt should be added to that, and I will come with that to the next meeting. And Marissa will you have an update on LDAC by then, do you think that you would?
By the next meeting, I should have an update, at least from DG, about anything that would have happened by then, so, yeah. And if they don't have the conversation, I'll force it, don't worry.
Okay, does that sound like a plan? Any questions or comments from our guests?
It was very useful coming to this meeting, actually, because it's one thing to read about this kind of stuff in your, library textbooks and your online classes, but it's another to kind of, not really getting my hands dirty, but I'm like watching the mechanic from right behind doing their work, so it's like one step closer, and it's some of the problems that like you have talked about or issues or challenges are not even mentioned in some of the books, the LDAC, even the smaller things like, the bulletin board, those are things that, the grand and the minute are things that I wouldn't have known about really. So I was glad to come here. I'll definitely be coming back.
Okay, well, welcome, we're glad you came. It's nice to have visitors.
It's one of those things that like most people in the community, and you're gonna get this a lot in your work, they think we just sit there and read all day. Like, we do not do that at all, ever. We don't have time, and it's nice, I'm glad you're here, and I wish more people would be able to come, because they could see how much we actually do and how much we talk about. how much
Yeah, I'm just like, how are you guys gonna get all that done between now and next month?
It happens somehow.
It's known as the English major's dilemma. You
Actually,
major in English because you love to read, and that's the exact last time you ever get to choose to read yourself.
I wish I majored in English.
Any other comments for anybody else before I close the meeting? Chrissy, you good?
I'm good.
Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
I'll see you there. Amy, Rick, Linda, Jennifer, Scott.
Is the patio tour this weekend or
No,
next
it's a
week?
week from Saturday.
Okay, so
The last
it's
Saturday, the 29th.
29th, okay,
Yes, the
thank you.
last Saturday of the month. Okay, I'm going to officially say, can we have somebody,
I move we adjourn.
and somebody second it?
I think it.
Okay, everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Look at that, we did that 2 minutes early.
I see that.
Yeah, the chair rolls away.
Yeah, so main thing, so I'll be watching the council meeting from home.
Oh, just.
So you can just talk about the fact that we have new staff,
You have 3,
yes.
okay, yep.
And summer reading started,
Yep.
and
Working on the, went over the online survey.
Yes.
Printed your goals and priorities, you're
Yes.
gonna read.
working on our strategic plan.
Well, did you go to Canby?
I did. I'm on the
What's your
golf
last
team and
name?
everything. McNichols.
Yes,
Yep.
Jennifer Krexberger, I was the bookkeeper.
Okay.
I know.
Perfect.
I recognize you.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
do.
hold on.
I was like, I know you. So,
Yes. We should be able to give people a lot of notice, and we also have brochures.
Yeah.
in The library with everything
She's
going
30,
on.
and my, and she married
Cool,
Joe
thanks, guys.
Valerio.
I realized.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
I remember you, because you were buddies with Aaron Smithy
Yeah.
from the library.
Yes,
And
I was
was
just
in
about to
the
ask him,
library
because he was like.
with Aaron and Susan.